Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We are happy to see you, and I hope that the next hour will be interesting. We have some exciting things to show you today. My name is Rafi Horish, and I'm the CEO of DPro. Let me start by sharing my screen, and we'll talk about what we're going to see today. In the previous webinars, we talked on creating reports, business processes, with no code on production within minutes, and how to publish them as Fiori apps. We talked about snapshots and how to use them. Today's webinar is about something that most SAP users hardly ever touch, and those who do work with SAP change logs find it difficult to manage and work with. We'll be showing you today one of the tools that was developed by DPro and was designed to make the use of change logs easy, intuitive, and code-free. In this webinar, we will look at the way SAP stores and presents the change documents, demo DPro's changelog viewer, look at timelines, and create a complete business process based on the anomaly in the change logs. At the bottom of the screen, you have a Q&A button. If you have any questions during the webinar, you can enter them there. We will answer the questions towards the end of the session. So what are change logs? Change documents in SAP is tracking mechanisms that records actually user activity. The change logs allow us to see who did what and when, and to see the history of the record changes. Let's start by looking at the uses of change logs. They are used for regulatory purposes, such as SOX, for tracking and correcting human errors, and to protect the organization from fraud attempts. The change documents, we can see who changed or viewed bank data, who changed account information. We can track what changes were done by a user or given transaction. We can view the history of the changes in pricing, discount amounts, inventory data, and more. The webinar and demo today will concentrate on one of the tools in the InsightZAP platform, the changelog viewer. We will see how easy it is to find the information we need, flag it, and create a business process from it. For this, I would like to invite my friend and colleague, our CTO, Mr. Shai Sinai, to talk about the technology and show you on a live system the capabilities of the changelog viewer and the synergy with other tools we have in the platform. Shai, please go ahead.
Thank you, Rafi. As the famous quote says, the only constant in life is change, and there is no real difference in the world of SAP. So today we'll also talk about changes in SAP. So what we're actually talking about in SAP, changes are basically logged in an object called change documents. This covers almost any SAP object you are familiar with, like material, customer, sales order, and more. And you can even develop your own change document in case you're missing one. It is important to mention that there are also other logs in SAP, and we'll cover also some of them right on. So some technical details about change documents, how they are built. The change document consists of 3 layers. At the top layer, we have the object class. In our example, it will be Debbie, a customer master data. Underneath, we have the database tables like KNA1 and KNB1. And beneath, in the lower level, we have the fields like name1, payment terms, and more. Basically, it works like that every change that is done by a user, whether it's an insert, update, or deletion, is being logged in the database tables. When we talk about the change documents, the data tables behind them are CD header and CD pose. Most of you must be familiar with those, but there are also some other tables which you might not be aware of, like CD pose UID, which handles long table keys and more. The 2 database tables handles are both header and item level data, which includes change number, username, date time, object key, table field, and of course the old and new value. How can we display those change documents? We have two options. The most trivial way is in the business object itself, when we enter the transaction of the business object. Like if we'll enter XDO3 to display a customer, we have the option to display this single object right away. The other option we have a standard SAP report, RSS CD100, which allows us to see mass changes, which not for a single object, but for multiple objects in our system. Last but not least option is development of a custom Z report, which show us the changes of this specific change document class, but we'll have to develop a separate report for each and every change document class. So now, if I may, I will show you how it looks in SAP system. I will enter transaction XDO2, which is the SAP standard transaction for maintaining customers in the system. I will enter customer number and a company code and confirm. Now what I would like to do, I will change two fields. First, I will change the name of this customer. I will change it from corporation to corp dot. And then I'll go to the company code data, payment transaction, and change the payment terms from plus 14 days to immediately. I will save this data. And now if I re-enter the customer, I will be able to see these changes. I can go here in the menu. I'll go to environment, field changes, and I see the list of changes. If I click on one of them, I can see the exact date, user, and all the new value of this field. So this is basically how it is done to a single object. If you would like to see all the changes in the system, we are able to use the standard report RSS CD100. Here we first need to select the change document class. In case of a customer, it will be Debbie. And then we have some technical fields we can restrict the data. I can restrict the data by date time. In my case, I will restrict it only to today. And then I have some other fields which are quite technical, like the change document number, the table name, the table key, and more. If I execute this report, I can see all the changes done in this system. I will sort it here, and I can see exactly the two changes I've done. When I enter transaction XDO2, I've done two changes. First, I changed the name from corporation to corp dot, and later on, I changed the terms of payment from 2 to 1. What I cannot see here is I cannot see non-technical data, like the description of the values, the parsing of the table key, which means I don't know for which company code it changed. For this, I have to be a little more technical and understand what lies behind it. So if I may conclude it, what are the cons of the standard change documents in SAP? Basically, there are two main cons. The first one is it's way too technical. All the fields names are technical. There isn't any parsing of table keys and no description of values. The second issue is that there is no search functionality. I cannot really search for multiple objects by their applicative fields. So far, we've seen how change documents can be handled in SAP standard, and now we'll talk about the alternative. The alternative we suggest here is the changelog viewer, which is part of the InsightZAP suite. So what do the changelog viewer offer? First, it allows easy customizing. You can easily add any change document class you wish very easily in a minute. It has search functionality. It is an object-driven search, which means you can search by the specific fields of the object, either table key fields or any other field. It is a user-friendly display, which includes parsing of table keys, additional master data fields, and even navigation to the business object. Last, we offer also a timeline mode, which is an alternative to the standard list of all new values, which shows you the data in a specific point of time instead of a list of changes. Let's see it live. I will go back. And this time, instead of executing the standard transaction, I will execute transaction /DCM/clearlog. Again, this is the changelog viewer. And this is the screen we'll get it. The first thing I need to do is to re-enter again the name of the object class. Again, it will be Debbie for customer. As you can see right away, the first thing that is shown is the list of all those applicative fields. Those are specific to the object customer, which means they are available only when I chose the object. You can see here I have many fields like the customer, country, and even additional master data fields like attribute 1 of the customer and more. If I scroll down, I can see I also have all the technical fields like change date, change indicator, table field, transaction code, all new value, everything you expect to see. If I execute here, I will enter some date and execute it. I will get the data again in a list view. This one is a little similar to the one you've seen earlier. It will include the same data, but it has many enhancements. The first one you can see immediately is, for example, when I click here on the object value, I will navigate directly into the specific object, to the transaction XD03 in this case. Here again, I can see all the changes which have been done. I change first the name, and then I change the payment terms. I also have the description of the values, and if you can see here, the table key is being parsed automatically, so I don't need to guess what stands behind it. I can see that here it was done for customer 370,111, and it was done for company code 3000. If I'll go even a little right, I can see additional attributes like the attribute of attribute 1, B1 normal, which is an additional data being selected directly from the master data of this customer. So how does it basically work? The changelog viewer is a central monitor of different data sources. It includes the change documents, including a special handling for pricing, which has an additional price parsing for the different database tables of pricing. It also handles the HCM, which are the human resource logs, read access login, which I'll talk a little about in a minute ago, and even table login. So after it fetches the data, it selects and merges additional master data of the object, and at the end, it displays the results in a nice and user-friendly way, which includes both the technical data and the master data and the changes. A nice feature, which many of you might not be aware of, is SAP read access logging, or in short, RAL. It is a feature available since NetWeaver 74, more than 10 years ago, I think. And it is even downported to NetWeaver 701, which means that basically any one of you can use it. The nice feature of this model, it is allow you to log display and views of the data and not just changes. For example, I can log out users who displays the bank data of a customer or any other data, and then review it. Let me show you how it looks. I have predefined some search of, again, a display log I have here. I will select all the logs, and I can see here the data. The main problem here is that the field name is very, very long technical field name. This is the customer in this case, and the value. Again, for anyone who hasn't configured this log, this long field name won't tell much. So, like in the previous case, the main issue of the standard RAL is the fact that it's very, very technical. And again, a non-technical guy won't be able to use it. Fortunately, we do have a solution. The solution is that the RAL is also integrated in the log viewer itself, which looks almost the same. If I switch back into the system, This time I will go back and change just a moment. And I'll change here in the change indicator beneath the change indicator to R, which means read. I will execute it. And now I will get only the display records. If I'll switch to a nicer LV layout, read, I can see exactly all the logging of the display records, but this now in a user-friendly way. I can see that this customer was displayed with this company code right away. By the change indicator R here mentions that this is a read access. Again, what I didn't show you earlier, I can use the restriction of the applicative fields. For example, I can enter here a customer number and execute, and I will get only the result of this specific customer number. Or even further, I can even enter other applicative fields, not even table key fields like attribute 1. I would select B1 and then get a list of changes only of customers whose attribute 1 is B1. Very naturally, I don't need to look for it. I just need to enter it in the selection screen, and that's it. So the next thing I would like to talk about is another nice feature of the change log viewer. This is the timeline view. The timeline view, or like some others call it, it's like a time machine. But in this case, when you drive in the DMC DeLorean, you will be able to be the driver on the seat, and not only Marty and Dr. Brown. So look out for it. So what is the timeline view? In contrary to the standard display of list of all of new values, it displayed the complete record at a specific point of time. What it means that I can focus on a specific record. In case of a customer, it will be DB table KNA1, and watch the evolution of it through time. I show you a little demonstration here. And this is how it looks in the standard list mode, which we're familiar with. First, user 1 made a change for attribute 1. It changed it from null to B1. Later on, user 2 changed the value of the name from depot to depot limited. And at the same time, it changed the value of country from US to IL. In the timeline mode, in the contrary, you will see the all record in one record, which means you can see that at first, the record was created by a creator and contained the values null for attribute 1, depot, and US. Then user 1 changed the value of attribute 1 to B1, and at the end, user 2 changed the value of name 1 and country. Again, I will show you this also live in the system. How can I display this timeline view? I have two options. The first one is very simple. I can just select a record in this change document and press on the timeline button. And what will happen right now, it will open me this data, but in a timeline view, which means I can see all the records at once. Just one moment, let it start. So as you can see here, again, I will sort it for a nicer view. I can see that at the beginning, those was the contents of this record until the 29th of March. And for example, if I look here, I can see that those were the records, the data since the 19th of June till the 20th of June. I can even narrow down the view to display only the fields which change during time and not all the fields. This is one option. The second option is instead of displaying one single object, I can go back here to the screen. I will remove this filtering, scroll down, and now I will change the output option to timeline mode. I will enter the table name and a date. For this example, I will enter 1st of June, and again, I will execute. What will be the result now? It will be the same result I showed you earlier, a timeline view, which means you show the complete record of this customer. But in this case, it will show you for all the customers in the system and not only for single customer. It is very similar to transaction SE16 or SE16N, but while SE60 shows you the data right up now, these options allow you to see the data back to a specific date. So in this case, it shows me the all contents of table KNA1 up to date to 1st of June, which is quite interesting. So if we conclude this functionality of the changelog viewer, what we've seen so far, it includes an object-driven search, allow you to search by any object. It is a central monitor of different logs in one central place. It is a user-friendly UI, descriptive field names, description of values, and even navigation to objects. And at last, it includes both list mode and the timeline mode for display. The next thing I would like to talk about is the whole product of InsightZAP and the synergy between the products. So far, we talked only about the changelog viewer, but now I will also include two other players in the game. The first one is the Insight Creator. This is a product which allows enhancement and enrichment of reports, like adding new columns, conditional formatting, and more. And the other product is the Publisher, which allows to publish reports to internal and/or external recipients. What those tools allow you to do, it allows to build a complete business process. Instead of just displaying the changes, we can build some business logic to set alerts and publish those alerts to any recipients. So how we will do that? First, we will define the business roles, add in calculations, manipulations on the data, add filtering, define the alert rules, and at the end, we will build those, publish those alerts. For this scenario, I choose a little different business scenario. Instead of changing the master data of the customer, I will change the credit limit of this customer, which is managing the credit management. I will execute transaction FD32, enter the control area, set status, and see. So as you can see now, the credit limit of this customer is 25,000, and I would like to change it to 35,000. I will save it. Again, I will go back to the changelog viewer. And this time I will choose the object KLIM, which is the object of credit management. And in my case, I wanted to restrict the data only to last week and to the field of credit limit. I will execute it. And I can see here all the changes done. The last changes that was done here is I changed the value of the credit limit from 25,000 to 35,000. Again, those are the changes, but now I would like to enlarge it and build some business rules. The first rule I would like to check is the change in the credit limit value, but I would like to see it in percentage and not in an absolute value. And the second thing I would like to check is if the same SAP user has done multiple changes to the same customer, which is quite suspicious and might be a case of a fraud in our company. And we will do that. Now I will execute another transaction. It is /DPS/rainbow ALV. This is the main transaction of the Insight Creator. I will create a new variant. I will give it a description, credit changes, enter the transaction of the changelog viewer, and select the variant of the credit changes. Now I'll execute it. And what I'll get right now, it's exactly the same list I showed you earlier with the same data, the same changes. So far, nothing have changed. But now I'm in the context of the Insight Creator, which allows us to do many other things like adding columns, conditional formatting, and more. So as I said earlier, the first thing I would like to do here, I would like to add a calculation of the difference, but in percentage. For this, I will add a new column. I will choose here a formula column and choose a data element of a decimal number. Set a short description and confirm. The next thing I will get is the formula builder. On the right side, you are able to see the list of all the existing fields in the report right here. And on the right side, you are able to see a list of formula functions available out of the box. There are functions for manipulation of string, datetime, even mathematical functions. Almost any function you're familiar with from Excel is available also here in SAP. So in case of a difference in percentage, I would like to do two things. First, I would like to calculate the value in absolute value. So I set the function absolute, and then I will enter the calculation. I would like to calculate new value minus old value. I will divide it by the old value and multiply it by 100. We'll save it. And the result is a new column I have right here, which shows me the difference in percentage. So I can see here, for example, that my last change was a difference of the credit limit in 40%. Here it was in 1%, and in the beginning it was 100%. What I can do now, I can write some conditional formatting. I will set this field and would like to highlight it and create a conditional formatting group, enter a description and confirm. Again, I will get the screen of the formula builder, but in this case, I would want like to calculate anything. I would like just to set a color. So I will set an if case. And I will check if the diff in percentage is greater than 5. I would like to color it. Do it here. Then select my favorite color, green. Otherwise, I won't set any color. I confirm it. And the result, as you can see right here, all the records with the different higher than 5% are highlighted in green. I can even play with this conditional formatting, turn it off and on anytime I want. The next thing I would like to do, as I said earlier, I would like to check if the same user changed the credit limit more than once. For this, I will add another column. This time it will be an aggregation column. I will set a description, number of changes. I will choose to count the number of changes. And I would set two fields. The first one will be the customer number, and the second will be the username who changed the field. I will confirm it. And again, the result is a new column in this report. I'll show you it right here, which shows the number of changes done by this SAP user to this customer. Again, what I would like to do now, I will add another conditional formatting. Multiple changes. Again, very similar to earlier. This time the expression will be if the number of changes is greater than 1. I would like to color it in a different color. Let me choose some random color. This time it will be yellow. And in other case, I want set any color. So you can see the result here, all the records with those alerts are now highlighted. What I can do right now, just now, I can add an advanced filter, and I would like to set a filter by the color. I would like to set only records which are highlighted in yellow or in green. Let me choose both of them. Confirm. And now you can see that the only records with alerts are being displayed. I would save this ALV layout so I can use it later on. I will call it alerts and save. So far I defined my business rules and I see the data. What can I do next? The first thing I can do very easily, I can just collaborate this data with anyone. The simplest way to do it, I can just select this data and press here in the send with Outlook. And what will happen now, I will need to choose the file format I want for it. In my case, I will choose HTML, confirm, and this would open me a nice window of Outlook. Just let it open. Yeah, as you can see here, this is a ready to be sent email with the contents I just selected, and I can set the recipient to anyone I wish. This is one option. The second option will be collaborating directly via this transaction. To do this, I first need to do an initial setup and set the key. This is a step which need to be only once in each and every report. So I'll select it and set the key of this report as a document number, the change document number. I'll confirm it. And now I'm ready to go. What can I do now? What I'll do now, I would like to add a comment. So I'll press here on the comment button and I'll write something, a suspicious activity. I will confirm it. And the result is a new column, a comment column. And if I double click on it, I can see the history of this comment, which users wrote what and when. I can even add another comment. Let's say demo user, please review this change. And I can even assign this directly to another SAP user. I will choose here the name of the SAP user, confirm. And again, I will get here 2 comments in the history of this. What is more interesting is that at the same time I created this comment, a new email has been generated and sent from the SAP system. I will now show you it in transaction SOST, which is the standard transaction in SAP to display outgoing emails. But of course, that in real life, it will arrive to your Outlook or Gmail account directly. If I'll display this email, I can see the contents of it. My user has commented on credit changes. These are the contents of this comment. I can see even the key. And at last, if I click here on the display report button, it will open me a new web GUI window. This is web GUI of exactly the same Insight Creator, but it's already being filtered to this record. So I don't need to search for anything. I don't need to look for anything. I get all the data I need directly right here. So I can see the data, I can see the change. And if I want, I can go back to the comment, double click on it, and enter my own comments. So I will enter here, reviewed. And by doing this, I basically ended an end-to-end process where I collaborated with another colleague of mine, reviewed the changes, and at the end, I get all the data at one place without exiting from SAP, without working with external emails or anything like that. That's it. This is basically the 2 basic options of collaboration. But of course, that in real life, not all your collaborations will be manual. We would like to also set automation and send those alerts automatically every day, every month, every year, up to you. So for this purpose, I would like to add a new column. I would like to send the recipients by the country of the customer. So every country of customer will have their own responsible persons to handle it. To do that, I will add another column. This time it will be a DB lookup column, which allows us to select data from the database. I will enter here KNA1 and select the field. It will be the country key. Press enter, and the system will automatically suggest me a mapping between the database field and the reports field. I'll confirm it and get a new column. If I don't know what does DE or US stands for, I can easily even click here on text, and it will get me the text of this value automatically. There's things I would like to do. I would like to set the distribution list. So I'll add the last column for this demo. I will set description, distribution list, and the distribution list will be quite simple. I will just set a concatenation of cast underscore concatenated with the country. I will save it and get the final result. Here you can see the distribution list, which means that those records of country DE, they will be distributed to the distribution list cast DE, and those of US will be distributed to distribution list cast US. I will now save this ALV layout so I can distribute it, call it LRS2, and save. We'll go back to the main monitor. This is a good point to mention that every report you saw right now in the SAP GUI is also available as a UI5 app out of the box without any development, without need to do anything. Everything you saw right here in the SAP GUI can be in a click of a button or by adding a tile to your Fiori Launchpad, be displayed as a UI5 app. What I will do now, I will now generate an Insight Publisher job. The publisher, as I mentioned earlier, is another product which allows us to distribute the data in many file formats and in different distribution methods. It allows us to distribute any ALV report in the system, but in our case, for our scenario, we'll use the exact same variant. I will choose here the Insight Creator variant and the ALV layout. The next thing I can do, I can set the file name. It can be even a dynamic file name, and choose the file format. There are many file formats being supported, like Excel, XML, JSON, HTML, CSV, text, and even PDF, almost any file format you are familiar with. In this demo, I will use the Excel. And at the end, I would like to set the distribution method. I can choose between email, SMS, FTP, file directory, or even a snapshot. In our scenario, we'd like to distribute the data to email. So I selected it. Then I have the option to enter the email addresses. It can be either a free email address like demo2@depot.biz, or even a business object. I can choose between an SAP user, business partner, customer, vendor, many business objects you are familiar with. In this case, I will enter the user demo1. Next thing I would like to do, I would like to enter some short subject and a long one. I will enter here the description. I attaches a list of number of records, changes awaiting your review. I'll save it. Scroll up, set those linkable items, and save. The next window which will be open to me is the scheduling of a background job. Since we use the SAP-standard job background mechanism, you are able to see it the same way, the way you're familiar with. You are able to schedule it periodically, monthly, daily, yearly, up to you. In my case, I would just like to execute it one-time job. I will save it, and I can see it was activated. I'll refresh it and see it finished successfully. If I press here in the log, I can see the all log from who it was sent to who and when, everything in one place. I will now go back to transaction SOST and refresh it. And I can see that the email was sent to 2 users, demo 2, which I entered manually, and demo 1, which is retrieved from the SAP user demo 1. If I'll display the mail, I can see the contents. I attach is a list of 9 changes awaiting your review. I can press in on the file, and it should open me an Excel file. This file, exactly the same contents, the same highlighting, everything we seen earlier in the SAP GUI, but now it arrives in an Excel format, even with the clickable fields. If I click here on the customer, for example, I will be able to navigate directly through web GUI into the master data of this customer. So this was one option. More interesting option, as I mentioned earlier, is the option to distribute it to different recipients dynamically. For this case, I will choose the second layout I said, the one with the distribution list. And I will choose to split the data by this field. So I'll enter here the distribution list. Then I'll scroll down and change the recipients of the email. I will set it to business entity distribution list. Just for the more clarity of this demo, I will remove the fixed recipients I set earlier, and we'll leave only the dynamic ones. And at last, I would like to add here a dynamic variable to this subject, so I can see the country of this email. I will save it, reschedule it. Now, again, one-time job. I would save it. Hopefully it will end successfully. And I will go back to transaction SOST, refresh it, and now I can see that 3 emails were sent. The first distribution list is of Erin and A and Drew, which receives the contents of the Germany customers. If I'll click here on the Excel, it will open me this Excel, which now includes only 6 records because those are the records of Germany. And if I'll go back and select now the contents of Estrada, which is the responsible person of US, I will get the contents of United States. Which includes only 3 records. So this is how it is done. I would like now to summarize it a little. Let me open again the presentation. So what have we done so far? We define a complete business process, which allows us to set alerts and send them. We started by creating an Insight Creator variant, adding new columns, conditional formatting, and even assigning the responsible person. And at the end, we created a publisher job, defined the recipients, and scheduled the periodic job. Like in The Lion King, we're in the cycle of life. We started from the changelog viewer, then go through the Insight Creator, and at the end, send it through the Insight Publisher to our recipients. This is basically ended the whole process, allow us to see it very easily. Rafi, I will return it back to you now.
Thank you very much, Shai. That's very interesting and fascinating. We will now move to the Q&A session. Everybody, if you have any questions, please use the raise your hand button or just write them in the Q&A. I think that we have a few questions already for you, Shai. Let me read them.
Okay.
Okay, so first question. Can the platform be used with all SAP models? Does it matter if it's on ECC or S4?
That's a good question. Yes, it supports any SAP models because all of them make use of the change documents, and we even support the HR separate logs. So yes, it can be either MM, PP, SD, any other exotic model you're familiar with. You can work with it. The product and the all InsightZAP suite is certified both for ECC and S/4HANA. So whatever system you have, you can use it right now.
Okay. Another question is about the timeline feature. Can you go over it? This was something I can answer. What we did is we recorded this session, and we will be sending the recording to everybody that attended, and also to people that that wanted to come, that wanted us to send the questions to them. Another question, Shai, for you from Oren. I don't know the name of the object. How do I find it to generate the change log for it?
So there are two options. The most trivial one, you have a search app like in any other case where you press F4 and get the list. But I agree it might be a little challenging. So my tip for you is very simple. Just made a change in your object and then go to table CD HDR and review for the last record in this table. It will allow you to easily locate the name of the change object class.
Okay. Another question, Shai, for you is if you can show the how we can display this as a Fiori app. Is that something you can do now?
Let me see if we have time. Just one moment. I will go back and share it just in a moment. So this is a very quick demo. I wasn't prepared for it, so it's how it looks. This is exactly the same changes I've showed you earlier, but this time it is opened in the UI5 view. I can play with it, add fields and more, but this was done directly here without me doing anything. Let me show you again how it looks in the sub GUI. I just click here on the SAP UI5 button, and it opened me the same data, but now in a UI5 app. Again, you don't need to walk through this button. You can also walk by adding a new tile to your existing Fiori Launchpad at the same case. Both of them will work.
Okay. Another question is if you can buy the changelog viewer as a standalone product. No, it's part of the package. We sell it now only as part of the full package of InsightZAP, but I'm sure that you'll find the prices for the whole system also very attractive. So I don't see a problem there. Let me see if there's any other questions. Can go on. There is another question about if we can show again the split option from Oren. Oren will be sending you the recording, so you'll be able to see that and very easily. If you don't, if you need some more information, if you need more help from us, there is you can see our LinkedIn, our email, our website. You can open a ticket. We'll be happy to support you in any way and to go into more details.
I would also suggest to watch our YouTube channel, which has a lot of many demos, including specific how to use split in Publisher.
Okay. I think that these are all the questions that we have. We go fast. Yeah, I think so. Any more questions? Anybody? Okay. Shai, can you change the slide, please?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So thank you very much for these questions, and thank you all again for joining us today. I'd like to summarize what we've seen. We saw how we can search and manage change logs easily. We saw the timeline of the record changes. We created a business process. We published the results. We did all of that in minutes and with no code. What I would like to remind you is that if you have any questions after this webinar, after the meeting, you're always invited to contact us. You can contact us via LinkedIn, the website, email at any time. We'll be happy to answer you. I think that this is the time to say, again, thank you very much for joining, and goodbye. See you in our next webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.